Hi, my name is Abhishek Rai and I work for BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management product. Today I'm going to talk about CLM, PaaS provisioning for Docker, and I've got this feature explained in parts. The first part will be focused on initial configurations. As you all know, Docker allows you to package an application with all of its dependencies into a standard unit for software development. With the CLM 4.6 release, end users can provision application as Docker containers, which allow better portability between different execution environments by creating more consistency in the behavior of application across these environments. Having end user perform Docker provisioning activities from BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management allows the cloud administrator to retain governance over these activities, which includes policy-based placement of containers onto target hosting environments, change management, tracking approval, and audit trail. The plan is to describe the following sections and explain the process to set up and use platform as a service, provisioning with Docker. So there are three sections: integrating with Docker, registering providers, managing Docker provider user. Once you're done with the configuration, the overall PaaS provider and Docker as a proxy PaaS provider will be active and ready to use. You will also be able to manage user who can access the provider. During the demo session, we will be reviewing following configurations, integrating with Docker. This has got two prerequisites. First one is create a Docker daemon host and download the required artifacts from BMC communities. Registering providers, managing Docker provider users. In the next video, we'll talk about preparing resources, mapping tenants to the logical data center, and setting up your first multi-tier service blueprint for PaaS. Let's switch to the Cloud Admin Console. Before we take a look at the configuration, BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management 4.6 integrates with Docker version 1.7 and 1.8. Currently, you can install Docker on Ubuntu and Red Hat Enterprise Linux platforms. To integrate BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management with Docker and open source cloud computing PaaS, we need to perform two prerequisites. The first one is create Docker daemon host, and the second one is to downloading the required artifacts from BMC communities and have that configured on Platform Manager machine. So let's take a look at the first prerequisites. I've already got Docker installed on one of my Linux machine and have configured it, and I have configured a Docker daemon. So I have used this command, docker daemon -h, and it's running on 2425. So with this, you can see that the Docker API listening on port number 245 for any traffic coming from any host. And just to show you that, so my Docker daemon is running over here. Let's switch to the BMC communities and download the artifact. I'm on BMC communities, and under the Cloud Lifecycle Management product, there's a document which talks about Docker container provisioning for BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management 4.6, and it has got artifacts which I was talking about earlier. You need to download this, unzip it, and get it configured on Platform Manager machine. So let's switch to Platform Manager machine. Here is my Platform Manager machine, and I've switched to installation directory, BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management, platform_manager, and lib. And I've already copied the jar file. Here is my jar file, public PaaS docker provider -1.0. Once you copy the jar file, over here you need to restart the CSM services. Once that is done, you can switch to Cloud Admin Console. Okay, I'm on a Cloud Lifecycle Management console and I've logged in as an admin user. Now we will be configuring the PaaS provider. For public PaaS purposes, you must set up two providers, the overall PaaS provider and a proxy provider. So I've got two providers already configured, but I will edit them and show you the configuration. So first you need to configure the public PaaS. Let me show you the configuration. So the provider type is public PaaS, and you can give any name to this provider. Description could be anything. Once that is done, click on submit button. Once that is done, you need to create a proxy provider, and I've already done that. So let me edit that and show you the configuration. So the provider type is public PaaS Docker, and that can be selected from a drop down. If you do not deploy the artifacts from BMC communities as indicated earlier, public PaaS Docker will not show up in this screen. The name could be anything, description, key store password, and then key store file path. You can configure host in secure or insecure mode. However, key store password and key store file path are required for hosts that are configured in secured mode. Specifying these two parameters does not restrict you from configuring host in insecure mode. So I've just provided a dummy password over here and key store file path, but I'm going to use Docker host in an insecure mode. So once that is done, you can click on submit button. Once your proxy provider configured successfully, select the proxy provider and click on mapping user account. If you create a public PaaS provider by using Docker, you can manage users who can access the provider. So I've already configured a user, but let me select that and click on edit. Okay, so in the username field, enter the name of a user you would like to add and then press enter. This user is a logical representation of the client-side SSL certificates used to connect the platform manager to the Docker host. Then you need to provide Docker host name, the port on which the Docker APIs are listening, and then just in case you are using it in an insecure mode, you can select false over here, and then you need not to specify the values for these parameters. But let me talk about it. Is secured means that whether the connection is secure. File path for importing certifying authority. If secured is true, specify the path from which the certifying authority file will be imported. File path for importing client certificates. If is secured is true, specify the path from which the client certificate file will be imported. File path for importing client private key. If is secured is true, specify the path from which the private key file will be imported. Once you're done with this configuration, you can click on save button. In the next video, we'll be talking about preparing resources, where you'll be creating your logical data center for PaaS provisioning. We will map the tenant to this logical data center, and then we will configure the first multi-tiered service blueprint for PaaS provisioning. I hope this video was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for watching this.